Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
We're back.
Episode 9.
10.
No,
Maybe 11.
we don't know. We'll figure it. I think it's 9.
Okay.
It's at least 9.
Yeah.
Episode 9.
I think it's 10.
Is it?
Oh, I'm
You
about to
We need to say
episode 10.
Is it?
At least somebody's paying attention.
All right.
Episode
Sweet.
10.
Hey, see, I'm still not with it.
It's a good day today. So we're 10 episodes deep. Kyle will tell you that this isn't much of a mile marker. I think it's it's
just
pretty good.
We got to get some in the books.
These are the ones you'll look back at and laugh at when you're
That's right.
1,000 deep.
That's right.
So we had Alex shoot us up a email, our first email, and you can email us at
SouthCackPod@gmail.com.
So Alex said that he really loved loving the think tank mentality and entrepreneurial drive. I could listen to this stuff for weeks. Watched a lot of Kyle's YouTube channel for years. And that's one of the things that inspired him to start his own YouTube channel.
It's awesome. Listen, that makes all of it worth it right there.
Pretty good email there.
Yeah.
And as usual, we get a couple texts from our buddies and, hey, hit us up.
That's right.
Give us feedback. Had a couple meetings off of our side hustle podcast. So
Cool.
we're putting out
Get them in the books. Listen, if we've got some think tank comments after today's episode, I can just imagine where this is going to go.
This is going to be a good one.
We got whiskey in the house for those that can't see. So, Greg Coutu is our guest today. How do you describe yourself? Real estate?
Yeah, local guy, born and raised here, went to Clemson, in real estate, but here probably, I text Kyle, told him I was really enjoying the podcast, and we've been friends for a long time. And a lot of the sales stuff, the surround yourself with good people stuff. Anyways, it was all resonating. So
Right. Yeah, when we first started this, me and Jerry got down, we were like, all right, let's write down a list of guests.
Yeah.
My list was like probably 5 people. Coutu was one of them.
No doubt.
I was like, that's got to happen.
Yeah.
So then that's why when you hit me up, I was like, good.
Yeah.
You can be a guest on the.
Nice. It was meant to be.
Yeah. So right on. And I guess we're going to do some little blind. He wants to do some blind whiskey. I don't know if
Yeah, so Kyle knows me as a big wine guy. I drink a little bit of whiskey, so I thought it'd be fun to bring a couple samples and let him try them blind and just see what you think. And then I'll tell you what they are, and it'll just be a fun sidetrack for us.
So
cool.
you like what are you? If you're wine, you're like a sommelier. If you're whiskey, you're
same
what?
thing.
I think the term's oenophile, or something. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I don't know what it. If you're a whiskey drinker, you're a drunk. I don't know.
Come on now.
I like them all. So what does
Yeah.
that say?
See, and I've got to where I like to drink, maybe on a little bit of ice.
Yeah.
So like I got to where I like the peppery heat and the higher proof stuff. It takes a while to.
I like beer,
Yeah.
but I will. I'm looking forward to sampling today.
See, my problem is everything I like is heavy. Like when I drink beer, it's like heavy, hoppy.
IPA.
I drink what they call NASCAR beer. I drink really fine wine, and I drink pretty good whiskey, and I drink the
Busch Light.
crappiest beer that.
I'll be drinking that this weekend. Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, you're headed to Bristol, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I used to go to the night race every year. That's awesome. It's like watching them race in Death Valley, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna camp. We're leaving tomorrow morning. We'll camp tomorrow night, and then I guess tomorrow's a truck race.
Yeah.
And then Saturday will be the night
Never
race.
been to the NASCAR race, but I did Thunder Valley, the drag strip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last truck race I went to there, Kyle Busch didn't have second gear. We were listening to him on the radio, and he won from a restart with no second gear. It was awesome. He skipped second gear and won.
He probably backed everybody up as he was trying to
It
shift
was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
What's crazy is I don't watch enough of it to even know who I need to be pulling for.
Doesn't matter. In Bristol, it doesn't matter.
I just
It's
need
it's nonstop action.
No, I just need my soft cooler.
That's right.
Full of beer, and I'll be good to go.
I went to the drag race with Mustang Parts Specialty.
Oh Lord, MPS. That's old.
That's old.
Yeah.
That's the last time I'd been to
Well,
Bristol.
cool. Let's crack open some of this whiskey so I can get.
Let's go in order. We'll just go with number one.
Should I? You gonna drink, Jared?
Yeah,
we
I'll take a
can
sample.
talk. We can talk while we drink too.
Because if you don't, I'll.
Take about half that. I mean, perfect.
All right.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the podcast. I've listened to all 9 episodes thus far.
I can't believe we're on 10.
We're going to let this breathe a little bit, Greg.
Yeah, let that water.
We're swirling it like wine.
So I don't know a lot about this. My buddy Rush Thrift is a bourbon and whiskey connoisseur, and we became friends through wine. But he knows more about whiskey than he'll forget more than I'll ever know. But water will help reduce the proof effectively, right? That's when you buy a bottle of whiskey in the store and it's 80 proof. You're like, well, how did they magically get there?
They
apparently, that's how they get there.
They dilute it.
Now this is not. This is 100. Well, I'm not going to tell you. If you know whiskey well enough, you might be able to recognize what it is. But
it smells like it's about 100.
Yeah. But you know what? It doesn't hit like it's that high proof to me at all.
Good.
It smells like maple syrup.
A lot of times, what you'll do is if you drink it straight like this, you'll get some notes off of it, right? Whatever those might be, the chocolates, the woods or whatever, the oaks. But you put a little water in there.
Wow. A whole different aroma.
Yeah, it'll open it up and it kind of brings out maybe some,
So
some other
what
stuff.
do you think about that? I know you don't drink a lot of it.
That's smooth.
Yeah, and you like that maple. So for me, with this one, and I'll tell you what it is.
Did I hit it right, maple? Because it did say it smells like maple syrup.
It's got a lot of maple.
The caramel maple on it is what's a pleasing aroma. When it comes to whiskey. Other guys, like for example, when you drink Scotch, like peaty Scotch is smoky. Yeah. I can't stand that stuff. Yeah. But some guys can't get enough of it.
See, I don't like it super smoky, but like the double oak stuff.
Yeah.
With a cigar, like the two just go together,
Nice. Rush just got me a double oak Woodford that's just out of this world.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
So tell me what this is.
Well,
I want to do all three, and you tell me I want you to tell me what you like in order, and then I'll tell you what they are.
This is one.
This is number one.
It's gonna be maple for you.
Real complicated stuff. This is number one.
So do we want to talk subject matter while we're in between?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think so.
So Kyle introduced you as real estate. Would you call yourself a mogul, or would you call yourself as a buyer's agent salesperson?
I'm just a guy. No.
Investor.
Much like your previous guest, Rhea, I specialize in Lake Huey.
Sure.
I do some Seneca in Clemson because I grew up here, know the area. We live in downtown Clemson. But no, it's just myself and an assistant. I work for a brokerage and been doing it for 19 years now. And man, the biggest thing I'll tell you about profession and my wife is a nurse practitioner, and we both grew up here. Both went to Clemson. Lindsay got her master's there. I feel so fortunate that we can make a good living doing what we want, living right here.
Yeah.
And I knew that when I got into real estate, but I'm going to be honest with you. Most of my clientele works their whole life in some godforsaken place like Atlanta or Chicago or wherever.
Move here.
Because that's where their opportunity was. And they worked there for 30 plus years to come live the life that you guys and I get to live every Tuesday night.
Yep.
And so every year that goes by, I've gained an appreciation for the lifestyle. And you guys know this, raising kids here, it's just fantastic. So it helps me sell the area. I jokingly say this, and no offense to people who sell copiers, but when you sell something that's really fun to sell, it's not that hard.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about it when we were talking about memories. You're making memories in that home or whatever, kind of setting the lifestyle. Well, you're selling a copier. You can't really, nobody's going to be happy about the fact that this is function, right?
Yeah.
But you sell somebody a house that they're going to make memories in, and you are part of that. You can, you almost help develop those lifelong memories that they're going to have, or 10 years worth of memories.
And the other thing is too, if you're good at it, if you know it. Again, I'll use Rhea as an example because she's fantastic too. Is she knows the lake and I know the lake, and it's helping people get to where they should be without them knowing, right? And then I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a call or a text or an email where they go, "Man, you told us this or this, and we trusted you, but now we understand it, and we can't thank you enough."
Yeah.
And listen, I know everybody thinks we're in it for the money and we got to make a living, and that's great. But those are the rewards where I know that people are in the right place because they worked with somebody like me or somebody like Rhea. Yeah. And there's a handful of us here that really do a good job and really know the product.
I tell you this, I've known you a long time, and I've got to kind of watch you do your thing over the last 20 years. And I think, you're a fantastic real estate agent, but I think you're a better network builder. You're better, making those relationships with those folks, like kind of like what you're talking about, right? Like for those people to come back to you years later, however long it was, and say, "Now we get it."
Yeah.
Like you have to have a relationship with those folks in order to, you're not just like selling them a house and then moving on to the next.
No, and it's different. And you've had other sales guys on there, the guy that was on the cruise ship, and he may never see those people again. And that's a little bit different environment. You know, not only do I not want to have to duck somebody in the grocery store, I actually want to see them.
Yeah.
I want to go out to dinner.
It's a feature customer again.
Yeah, I want to go out to dinner and run into somebody and be happy to see them and then be happy to see me. And
you still want them to tell the buyer experience, right? Oh, I got a guy. I mean, real estate is a lot referral, right?
It's everything. And I think it's that way in every business. Yeah. You go to a restaurant or you go next door to the tap room, whatever, and you get a good service, you're going to tell people about it. And you're going to build, I mean, people want to, and here's the other thing that's really cool. People want to help other people in business. Okay. So I'm going to give you a great example of this.
Backing it up.
I don't know the first thing about cars. I mean, Kyle and I are friends, but we don't have a ton in common when it comes to that. I watch I don't know what a bibster is. Okay,
he does now.
I don't know if that's a term or if it's a nickname of that thing. But I've watched him build it for the past year or so, and I watch his Snapchats and I watch his YouTube stuff, man. and it's because and partly it's because I know him obviously, but there's a passion there. There's he's sharing information. I love when guys are asking you questions and stuff. And so even though I don't know the first thing about it, maybe A, I enjoy it, but B, my view is a statistic that helps you. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's
support.
That's exactly right. And people will support people that they know are good intention, do a good job. And that's universal. It's not just real estate, but it is, if you talk to any good real estate agent, their business after a certain point is almost all referral, past clients. Mm-hmm. I was in a listing appointment yesterday, and they were friends with. I'd never met them before. I didn't sell them their house. I didn't have the house listed, but their neighbors. I sold their home, and they love me, and so they called me, and there you go.
Here we are.
Yeah, and so good business breeds good business is the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, for like what you do too on the high end side, there's not that large of a customer base. I would think that the cost to acquire a customer, which is a horrible word for what you do, it's got to be pretty high. So once you get that, hey, 10 years from now, when they want to sell that property, you want them to come back to you.
That's right.
Me and you've done that.
Yep.
I used him to buy a lake lot. And then when it was time to sell that thing, guess who I went to?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, and Rhea, by the way, did sell that lake lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it sold again.
To Jeremy Mann. You know Jeremy?
Yeah.
Seneca? Yeah. When you guys were talking about that the other day on the podcast, I was like wishing I could interject and be like, no, that's the same exact, because she was like, I think that might be.
It apparently was.
It absolutely is, right?
Interesting.
So anyways, no, I mean, it's, it's a building block business like many, many businesses are, right? I know you do a lot of rentals and different things like that, and I've got long and short-term rentals as well. And I tell people all the time, you're not going to get rich off of one. It doesn't work that way. Mm-mm. It's a long game, and it's a building block business. But then after a certain amount of time, you go, wait a second, we got a little something brewing here.
Well, and the thing is, too, is when you start off at one, and then you build 2 blocks. Well, those 2 blocks let you build the third faster.
That's right.
And then those 3 let you build the 4th one faster.
Oh, yeah. I remember the first one, it was like, oh, we're going to do an Airbnb. Let's create an account. I don't want to get into all the details, but Megan's just, drinking a glass of wine. Yeah. I think we could do the farmhouse. Let's just do that. And she lists the account. Like, we don't know. We've never even stayed in an Airbnb at this point. I have no clue about how this works. But there's an app, and you can take pictures. And we were at the lake house, and she did that. Woke up next morning, there were 3 bookings. She was like, oh, I got to go clean the house.
I got to move out. I joke with him because we think she set it up. She's like, I guess I got to move in with you now.
Well played, Megan. Well played.
So, but after that one, now we've got it down to an equation.
There you go.
All right, here's purchase price. And we can just about tell you how many bedrooms, what the purchase price needs to be, and what's your monthly revenue going to be.
Yeah.
Right,
but it's a building block thing, and my business is that way. Not only am I fortunate to do business where I want to live, which is just an unbelievable blessing, but I work with like the same 10 to 20 people. I mean, it's a small town.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of us that really know the market and know it well. And I mean, honestly, almost everybody they're great people. Everybody's got a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And we work together over and over, so we get to know each other. You know who you can count on. You know personalities, and And so as I think we were talking about this before I got in here, but I want to give a shout out because there's some SouthCack podcast mojo going because Rhea was on your podcast episode 4.
We love Rhea.
And I'm on 10, and we just did a $1.7 million deal on Tuesday.
Boom.
And
Together.
I can't help but think the SouthCack Syndicate had something to do with that, right?
You hadn't got our commission statement.
Yeah.
It's being wholesaled.
That's right.
Did I tell you that her ad is fixing to run out and we've got an opening coming in?
There you go.
But I
Don't
think,
tell me you ain't got the money.
I think that Hey, I got a wife and 2 daughters.
Good stuff, man.
But I mean, I think there's some mojo there.
Hey,
you're right.
that's good. SouthCack mojo.
That was kind of the whole, when we sat down, me and him would sit down and just have conversations just like you do with your buddies about whatever, right? Whether it's real estate, business, whatever's going on. We used to have these conversations all the time. And I would leave those conversations feeling more stimulated than I was beforehand.
That's right.
Whatever it is, I'm ready to go, whatever. We'd kind of say, man, we need to record this stuff.
Yeah.
Not only that, we need to bring other people in that can do that to us as well, right?
Yeah.
You hear it all the time. Iron sharpens irons. Surround yourself with smart people. You guys are good at what you do, and you try new things and you branch out. And I love that stuff. I've always loved that about you. You're always curious about things. I'm good at what I do, and I'm thankful. But I work with and around a lot of people that I learn from every single day. And I tell people all the time, if you think you got it figured out, you might as well pack it up and go home.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're smoked.
You're gonna, that's it. There's always something to learn. There's always somebody to learn from, and that keeps you coming back for more. And I don't care whether it's real estate or whether it's YouTube stuff, whether it's Airbnb. It's a universal translation across any business, any hobby, anything.
And when you break it down, it all works the same.
It does, and it's cool. And listen. I mean, life gets weird and mundane if you're not careful. And, you guys do a really good job of saying, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Let's do
Well,
it.
and this is what I told Jared. I'm like, listen, if nobody listens ever, we never got one person that listened to the podcast. We got to have you in here and we could talk to you. We got to have Rhea in here. We could talk to her. We got that.
We still have our regular conversations.
And you got to hear Rabbit stories off air.
Oh my
And
God.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh,
I
Rabbit.
don't even know Rabbit, but I want to hear the off air.
Yeah.
But you're right. What's the worst that happens?
I'm
you
like-
guys hang out for an hour, have a good time.
That's right. That's
Learn
right.
a few things.
That's right.
And we've had some great guests, and we are from 1 through 10. We've had four or five guests,
Yeah.
and all guests I would definitely have back again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot more guests and a lot more content to go.
Let me ask you this. I know you are a really good, I say really good poker player. To me, you're probably a really good poker player. I know how in the poker world, like you always want to be the best in the room, but that don't mean you're the best.
Sure.
Right. What did you learn in your poker? And do you still play?
It's funny you bring that up. Actually, we played last Friday night at a client friend's house. We had a group of guys get together. We've been trying to get together for years. To answer your question, do I play much anymore? No.
You used to play a lot though, right?
I used to play a lot when I was younger, kind of before we got too busy with family and business. I played a lot and loved it, and got pretty respectable at it.
What did that whole journey teach you that you use outside of the poker table?
Lessons from the game.
Yeah, because there's a lot about reading people and
it is very much so the basis. Well, that's a great question because in my opinion, there's two bases for understanding and being good at the game other than basic knowledge. One is math, and I don't care what you do for a living.
Odds.
Math is like the underlying everything.
Yeah.
I mean, in poker, it's odds. Pre-flop, post-flop, whatever.
Right.
Calculating does it make sense to make this call or whatever? Right. We won't get into too deep on it, but in everything else we do, math is a big thing. And then the other underlying skill is understanding things socially, social awareness.
Yeah.
Table talk is a big deal. Sometimes it's literally just table talk, but I get an idea of your personality.
Yeah,
Are you a non-risk taker? And I can tell by the way you dress, the way you talk.
If that personality changes mid-game, You can kind of get an idea of what that's for. You know, and it kind of goes back to, we talked about it before, I think in the crypto episode we did, where I like to find those things that have, where I can minimize the downside that still has a huge upside. Because, I mean, that's kind of poker, right? You're not guaranteed to win any hand.
Correct.
But you're betting big on the hands that have they're the least likely to lose.
And here's the thing that would translate to somebody like you. It's the only game in a casino that doesn't have a house edge.
Right.
They take a portion of the pot, a couple bucks or whatever. But otherwise, there is no house edge. You're not playing against, you're literally not playing against a stacked deck. Any other game, there's an inherent edge that you can't beat.
Yeah.
And
no matter the skill level.
Poker game, it's the skill level and there's a variance in luck. But if you play enough, variance, works itself out. You have, the 20% stuff hits 20% of the time. If you play a little bit, you could run good or run bad in the short term, but in a larger sample size, that all evens out. So that's one of the things that attracts people to the game, is that there is no house edge, and there's an element of luck. But again, numbers work out.
Yeah.
Percentages work out over time. I mean, it's just the way it is.
I mean, even though there's a luck, a good player will minimize how much they lose when they're bad, and then maximize how much they win when they're good.
That's correct.
Right? So
It sounds just like the real estate game.
it is.
It sounds like, seriously, everything.
Yeah.
Limit your risk.
Yep.
Know the upside.
Yeah.
Shoot for the moon.
You can get in and get out whenever you want.
That's right.
You don't have to get out if the game's good. If
That's
the game's
exactly
bad, you
right.
can get out. Yeah.
I was watching an interview with Metallica. I love Metallica.
Me too.
And Lars Ulrich, the drummer, was saying, some people keep their money in the bank. And he got really heavy into art. And so he's like, I like to hang mine on the wall. I can exit anytime. Nobody can tell me when I can't get my money or there's paperwork. I'm just going to grab a piece, take it to a gallery, and sell it.
That's cool.
And
I just got into art the past couple of years.
So I think when I heard that years ago, decades ago, I'm just like, that's the greatest thing ever. I don't want to put my money in the bank. I want to drive by and look at it. So every municipality I go down, I'm like, oh, yeah, here's my money.
He also has another great saying. It's all years ago in an interview with him. He said that after they released an album, he said something because they had changed their sound a little bit. And he said, people are calling us sellouts.
Oh, I remember this.
You know this line?
Oh, I know it
He
well.
said, I'm hearing all these people calling us sellouts. And he's like, yeah, they're right. We're selling out every stadium.
Every time.
Every time. You're right. We're sellouts, all right. I thought that was great.
It's like, what? We just sell out every time.
You're just a bunch of sellouts. You're just a bunch of sellouts. He's like, yeah.
My Danish
stadium.
little friend.
Yeah.
No, and you guys have talked a lot about collectibles and watches, art, things like that, and it's an interesting. Those things are really interesting for a lot of reasons. One is there's a finite amount, right? Two, based on rarity, the price can go up or down, right? And I talk to people all the time about wine. I'm big into wine. And people are like, is that bottle really worth that? And it's like, listen, after a certain price point, it's not any better quality. It's just a rarity thing.
Yeah.
Right? And
most of them are gone. Most of them have been
cars
consumed.
Cars are the same way. One of 10, one of 100. Those
one
prices
still left. Yeah.
Those prices are different than your highly manufactured things. And then the other thing is, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is utility. Lars is, his art collection, I'm sure, is on a little bit different level than mine.
No doubt.
But he looks at it. I wake up every day and I enjoy what I see.
Yeah.
And that whether it's a deep thought one or whether it's one that's just really fun or whatever, I'm getting utility out of that while I'm investing in it.
See, what I find is I get sucked down the rabbit hole of the creation. And that excites me a lot of like cigar, for instance. Mm-hmm. You look at like the master cigar rollers and what they do, how long that stuff has to be aged, who blended it from different countries, all the things that go into it. And they put all their, blood, sweat, and tears into that cigar. And then it sits somewhere it has to age for like 5 or 10 years before you can even enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And then you get that and you just know that like there's so much work in this piece.
Art is the same way.
It is. Whiskey's same way. Watches. I mean,
everything. Everything. And people value. What's cool is that everybody values it differently.
That's where I'm going with that. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. We had this conversation sidebar off a podcast one day, and art is very funny because you can set whatever value you want to it.
Nobody can argue it.
Nobody can audit it. No, if I was in a certain game, right, I would sell you a piece of artwork to collect my money on something different because the art is in the eye of the consumer.
That's right.
Yeah,
right. The value of that piece.
You'd get Megan to paint it, and then you'd just sell it to.
I could paint it.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's in the value of that piece.
It's if you go out to dinner, mass-produced food is cheaper. You go to a place where the chef is a fantastic chef and the prep takes forever and the ingredients are sourced.
It's a Wagyu A5.
Yeah.
You said you're going to pay extra because there was a lot of time, effort, knowledge. I get paid. I work a lot of hours and all that, but a lot of what I get paid for is what I know. That old saying where the guy comes in and they've had 10 people come and he can't fix a thing and he dings it with a hammer and he says, "Give me $10,000." They're like, that took 60 seconds. And he goes,
took me
20 years to know where to hit the hammer, right?
Yeah.
That it's that way about it. A chef that knows what he's doing, you're paying for that knowledge, that skill. You're not paying for that one particular experience. You're paying for the 30 years that took him to provide that experience to you that day, right?
That's right.
And again, everybody values it different. Some people don't care anything about that, and that's fine. But if you do, there's something for it.
Yeah.
And you talked about it the other day with wine. Then that there's another dimension to that, which is wine gets consumed over time. So some wines don't appreciate in value, but a lot of the best wines do. And part of what drives the value up is that over time there's less of it.
There's no more left.
Now, I'd love to sit here and tell you that I'm investing in wine because I'm spending a stupid amount of money on it, but I really just drink it.
You drink it.
I just drink it. Yeah. Yeah. I may quit drinking tomorrow and then sell it all.
You don't have a wine cellar?
So yes and no. I have what's called a Eurocov, which is a wine refrigerator. It controls humidity, and I have roughly half my collection there. A buddy of mine has a wine cellar at his home, and the rest of my bottles are there. And my wife,
your collection bottles, or you're saying 100% of your wine base is all consumable? You're not holding on to a certain bottle.
I don't know for a fact, but this is how I would do it, and I'm sure that Greg does the same thing. Is you're like, ooh, there's a great wine that I haven't seen in a long time. They're rare. I'm gonna buy 2 bottles. I'm gonna drink one. I'm gonna save one.
Oh God!
And then after you drink the first one, you're like, maybe I'll just break into that second one.
Yeah. To answer your question, Jared, everything I have, I plan to consume. Now, some would be a sin to consume it now. It's too young. It's not where it needs to be or whatever. Well, but I haven't bought any wine with any intention of reselling it. That doesn't mean I won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
holding it for sure. I've got wines. So I buy Bordeaux futures, right? So you buy, like I've just paid for 2021, I think it is, Bordeaux, which will come out. I'll get those in 2 years. I won't drink those for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, just hang on to them.
But I buy them cheaper and then I'll hold them. So, the plan is, yes, to consume them, but not immediately. And part of curating a collection is having
future drinking,
having wines you are in that you want to drink now, and then 5 years from now, or 10 years, whatever.
It goes back to.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it goes back to kind of what we were talking about. Maybe even before we started the podcast, the utility of it.
Yep.
The utility of it may not be to resell it and make money. The utility of it is maybe to hang on to it for 20 years and drink it with somebody that's very special that understands the.
So for me, I'll tell you what it is for me. So I'm 41, and the majority of my 30s, I was hyper focused on planning for the future. My girls were growing up, and I wanted to make sure that financially we could do what we needed to do for our future and for the girls. And then I realized, as you get older, you start to realize. How'd you feel about that, Jared?
Go ahead.
We just poured the second.
Jared just took a sip of the second whiskey. But I realized at a certain point that life is fragile, and I need to live now. And wine. And look, every guy and women are probably the same way, but it's 3 dudes sitting around a table, so we'll talk this way. We're all into something. We're all obsessive. It's just the way we're built. We're going to be hyper obsessive about something, and that is probably going to change to another thing and then another thing. So when I get into something, I go pretty all in on it. But wine became the thing that it's my live now. It's my pleasure for now. And I'll tell you how it came about is for us, for Lindsay and me, my wife, and for our friends, we love to cook. We love to get together. We go out some, but we do a lot of in-home entertaining. It's the way a lot of our age does because we got kids. You don't want to drag them to Greenville to dinner and, all that stuff. And wine just fit that perfectly. And even though some of our friends are really big into it and some of them don't care at all, nobody has a bad time drinking good wine.
That's right.
They don't know if they're drinking $20 or $2,000 bottle wine, but they're enjoying it.
Well, and they're getting an experience too they would never normally get.
See, that's a little different. So I would say I want the experience, but that is an experience.
That's correct.
Yeah. Right. So
it's like going to a football game or going to your night race.
I'm all in to fly fish. Like that's my thing. I don't collect fly fishing stuff. I go out to fish.
Yeah.
So I do it for the experience itself. But as I listen to you finish that story, it is also that experience. You get to tell the story. I went to a wine tasting at Appalachian with Michael.
Oh, they do a great job there.
And it was my first wine tasting. And I learned that the rocks on top of the vineyard held more heat and made a more robust grape. And I'm just going, it's like fly fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like trout does this for a certain reason. The water temperature needs to be this. And past the Mason-Dixon line, and it's X. Like, it's a lot.
There's
to
a lot
Wine's
of,
the same
like
way.
anything else. Like when I watch you put those cars together, there's so many nuances and small things. And look, we'll tie this back into it's the small things that make all the difference. It's the small things that make the difference in a good real estate agent and a great real estate agent.
Yeah.
It's the small things that make, you a good fabricator, a great fabricator versus a guy that just doesn't know what he's doing or whatever, right? And I was telling my daughter this. My oldest daughter is a senior in high school. And we did our official tour of Clemson. She's toured a few schools, and we did Clemson Tuesday afternoon. And I was telling her, I was trying to explain to her how now she's going from high school where she's an all-A student. She's doing great. She's kind of at the top of her class or whatever. And I said, look around. Everybody here, you see how the level up.
They're all U's.
They're all at least you. Yeah. Most of them are above you. And I said, and I got really bad news for you. When you get out of school, guess what happens again?
Go smaller. Yeah.
And I said, I wasn't doing that to scare her, but I wanted her to be aware of the fact that, the little things start to separate A from B and B from C.
Yeah.
And we know that as older folks. And it's the little things that make stuff a little bit more valuable, make it a little bit more fun. You guys were talking about watches and movements and, the intricacy of, one watch with the jewels and the movements and the time that it takes to make that watch might make it $100,000 watch.
Yeah.
It tells time like
every other watch.
Like a $50 watch, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, like an automatic watch is worse at telling time than like a battery operated watch.
I set my watches 10 minutes ahead of time.
What are you wearing?
This is
got a Rolly.
I have a few watches. This is a Sky Dweller, and this is a good story. This is a really nice watch, but this is.
I was eyeballing it.
I've owned a handful of nice watches. I've owned a few. You said you had a Tag. I've owned a few Tag Carreras, and I gave one to my brother, one to my buddy. This watch, I'll give you just a quick story on it. I had my eye on this watch for years and didn't buy it. And then 2.5 years ago, my mom passed away unexpectedly. And I was working through the estate stuff and we got a little money. My mom worked hard, but she wasn't wealthy. And I decided that I was going to pull the trigger because it'll be I'll never sell it.
It'll be a memory of her.
I'll never sell it.
Yeah.
It'll be something I'll always have. I'll look at it. So this is a great story. So when my mom passed away, she had a little Nissan Murano, and it was like a 2010 with 20,000 miles. It was like typical lady that rarely drove it. And her best friend's grandson was just starting to drive, and so my sister and I got together, and I said, I think we should give it to him. I think Mom would like that. So we gave him the Murano. Well, fast forward like 6 months later. This watch comes in, I got it in, and it comes in while I was at the office, and it didn't fit right. So I called Jacob Turner up at Turner's Jewelers. I said, can you help adjust this? And he said, yeah, come on up right
Did you get it from them?
No, I got it through another buddy, one of my wine buddies that's a dealer. And anyways, I pull out. I hadn't seen that car twice in 6 months.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yep. And I pull out of the office. I get to Miracle Circle, and guess who pulled up right next to me? And I was like, man, I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That is cool.
He didn't even know it was me, but I was like that.
Yeah.
I was literally taking.
It was like a sign.
I hadn't had this thing in an hour,
Yeah.
and I pulled up to the stoplight, and my mom's car pulled up next to me.
Yeah, and you're like,
I said, okay, you approve of it. It's cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, I have this. I have a Submariner that I wear mostly all the time because it's a better everyday watch.
Yeah. You like Rolex?
Love them.
You like Tudor?
I don't own any Tudor. I think they're great looking watches, and,
Yeah.
and there's obviously a lot of value there. I love Tag. Like I said, I had 2 beautiful Carreras. I gave one to my little brother, one to a friend, and they wear them every day, which is awesome. I'll probably add one more watch because I've got a 2-watch winder, so you can wear one and wind too.
It's spinning.
But it's a fun thing, like anything else.
Yeah.
You know?
See, I spend a lot of money on a lot of stuff like you were talking about earlier, like bow hunting right now. I'm like,
I saw this.
I'm like waist deep in that right now.
I saw you the other day.
I saw Kyle on his Snapchat or YouTube.
Shooting through the Bibster's back window.
I'm like, and for anybody who grew up with Kyle, went to school with Kyle, hung out with Kyle, Kyle calls me last year and he's like, dude, I just shot a deer. And I was like, what? Like,
I've never even seen you in camo. What are you talking about?
The last thing I ever expected to hear from Kyle Voss was, I shot a deer and now I'm hooked. And not just any deer. This was a monster buck.
Of course.
In your underwear, off your porch.
No, it wasn't.
Was it on your property?
It was on my property. So,
that's cool,
what's crazy though is I've never hunted. I always wanted to. You know, growing up, I had a bow for a while, and I would practice every year for deer season. I'd never go. For like 8 years, I did that. So finally, I just sold the bow. I was like, this is obviously not going to happen. So last year, I told Heather, I said, I'm going to hunt this year. So I went and bought me a gun that's, good for shooting deer. Because I've got a bunch of guns, but that's another thing, too. I went down that rabbit hole for a while. Yeah. But, so I get I buy me a gun. I get it all dialed in. I don't own any camo. I don't own anything. So one morning.
He's starting to remember why he sold that bow.
Yeah. Well, Heather would give me a hard time. She'd be like, you going to go hunt this morning? I'd be like, nah, I got things to do, blah, blah. The next day, you going to go hunt? Nah, I got things to do. So we were getting ready to go on a trip somewhere. I don't remember where it was. And I took the day off work. It was like a Friday. And I said, I'm going to slip in the woods this morning. This is just behind the house. So it's like super easy. I got like a little trail and I have some old barrels down there that are kind of stacked up. So I go down there and I got like my
real professional blind.
Yeah.
Like for what, a paintball course?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. So I got
With real guns?
I got like Dickies on and a flannel, and I've got a cigar in my mouth. I'm smoking it, and I'm just like strolling down.
He peed on the tree next to him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did everything wrong, and this big buck.
No, but hold on.
Up.
So I'm walking down this trail, and all of a sudden I spook like 2 deer. They take off and they just run off through the woods. And I was like, well, shit, there goes that, Mm-hmm. So I kind of walk back around and there's these barrels sitting there. I'm like, well, I'll just sit down right here and smoke my cigar. So I'm just chilling, sitting on this little bucket basically in the woods. Got my rifle sitting there and I'm puffing this cigar. All of a sudden I see this doe come walking through the woods. I was like, oh shit. So I'm like trying to be quiet. And I look right behind her is a buck just chasing her up through there. Well, it's so thick behind my house, you can't shoot through the woods. There's just that one trail. So I'm like,
one little clearing there.
One little clearing. And it was probably, I don't know, a 100-yard shot or maybe a little bit less than that. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just watch her cross this path. I'll go ahead and dial in on her.
You just put the cigar in your mouth?
It was in my mouth. Hey, it was hanging out the side of my mouth. And so,
like Hannibal off of 18.
Yeah.
I love it when a plan comes together. Kapow!
Basically, is what it was. So she crosses the pathway, and I could see her good. And I'm
There's
like,
so
right.
many real hunters out here so mad at you right now. They're like, this idiot.
So that's what my brother-in-law said. I shot it, and I was like, oh, shit, now what do I do?
Now I got to call a real hunter.
So I couldn't find it. It took off and went down through the woods, and I couldn't find it. So I called my brother-in-law, and I'm like, hey, I just shot a buck, and it was, definitely going to die because it was blood everywhere. It was just spewing blood. So I shot a buck. I shot it good. I can't find it. I need you to come help me find it. And if we find it, I'm going to need some help dragging it out because it went down this big hill behind our house. And so he gets out there, and we're looking around, and we find it. And he's like, holy shit. It's a pretty big buck. for your first one? I was like, yeah. And I was like sitting on a bench up there smoking a cigar, no camo on. I'm like, this is easy.
I will never buy camo again. Never buy camo.
Well, he looks at me and he goes, it probably won't ever be that easy again.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was reverse psychology. You made him look. The buck saw you, but he was completely comfortable. He's like, this idiot.
I don't even know that he saw me. I think he was so entrenched with her.
He was chasing the lady, yeah.
And she just,
I know guys get up.
There's a story of life in that.
Oh, yeah,
right
for
there.
sure.
I know guys that get up early, like 4 a.m. They put their camo on. They can't wash it with regular detergent. It's a different detergent.
Oh, they got to wipe deer pee on
and they got
stuff.
deer pee on their boots, and they're sitting freezing their ass off in a stand for 8 hours just to get a chance. And you're smoking a cigar and some flannel dickies, and bye-ow.
Yep.
Not easy being Kyle Voss, but
done.
I love it. That's a great story.
Well, but now you're putting down the rifle, and now you're
I'm
going
gonna
to
do both. I'm gonna do both. So the thing is with deer hunting is bow season opens up like a whole month before gun season. So if you have a bow, you can start hunting now. Today, matter of fact, it opened for bow season, and you can't gun hunt here until November 1st, I think maybe.
I don't have the patience to deer hunt.
You want to hear? I'll give you a cool little anecdote when it comes to deer and local and real estate. So my buddy that holds some of my wine for me, he lives up in the cliffs at Kiwi Springs, and they have tons. This was 3 years ago or something. Like that, tons of deer. I mean, in the mile it takes for me to go through the gate to his house,
you see a bunch of them.
We'd see like double-digit deer.
It's like Caves Cove.
So they had a meeting and they were like, we got to do, this isn't safe. We got to do something about it. Well, you can't just go in there shooting up the neighborhood either. So what they did was they talked to some locals, bow hunters, and they opened for a week. They said, look, you guys can come in and hunt for a week.
Take them out.
And the other day, this was like 3 years ago, the other night we went over there for dinner and we saw like 6 deer on the way in.
They're getting ready to do it again.
I told him, I said, man, we saw like 6 deer again. He said, they're about to do it again.
Somebody told me that.
There's one guy at the reserve that has that contract.
Oh, really?
And they pay him
to take them out
to shoot deer.
And they love it because they're packing their freezer.
Yeah.
And I thought that's really good. Like I dig that. That's good problem solving because the deer can get overrun. I mean, I know people are against hunting, but deer can get to be,
Yeah, and they create a bunch of damage
and sure enough, they're going to do it again when bow season opens.
I follow these guys on YouTube called Seek One, and they're Atlanta guys. And I mean, they hunt urban. I'm talking about urban. They're knocking on people's doors and saying, hey, this little wooded pathway behind your house, there's these big deer coming down there. You care if I hunt in your backyard? And they're like, no. And they're all bow hunters. And they're taking down these huge deer.
Because nobody else has threatened them
threatening them.
Decades.
There's nobody hunting. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, and they have a story behind every one of them. Dude, like, knocks hundreds of doors to do it. Cameras up everywhere. It's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, in today's day and age, that's an awkward conversation. But I could see somebody going, "Yeah, man, have at it."
Well, and a lot of them do. They're like, "Oh yeah, I mean, so and so almost hit them the other day, and then whatever. There was a car crash the other day because one was running across the road."
We like I said, we live in downtown Clemson. I mean, we're 2-minute walk, 5-minute walk from campus. And the other day, I woke up and deer's in my backyard. I'm like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Metro Atlanta, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not Kyle Voss's acreage either. You know what I mean?
No, and you probably have more deer than I do. That's what's weird.
But
they feel safer when they're.
He's just back there chewing on my plants, and I open the door to let my dog in. My dog's looking at me like I ain't doing nothing. I'm like,
yeah.
I got a bear problem.
You got bear up your
But
place?
I live in Mountain Rest.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a bear at my house too. They come and go. They're weird. They don't hang out for a while.
They've been coming further and further south.
Yeah, we planted sunflowers last year, and it was just like just tearing them up.
That's crazy.
Getting in the garbage.
So number 2 on the whiskey.
All right.
Nutty.
Yeah.
It's like real nutty.
Do you have a preference between 1 and 2?
Well, I like both of them.
Okay.
They have a totally different taste to me, though, for sure.
It'll make sense when I tell you what they are.
Okay.
I smell maple on the front end and hate the front, but I like
it's hot.
I like the finish.
This is a very mild whiskey for its proof. The first one was.
Yeah,
I mean, like super
that?
mild. No, what is that?
Don't waste
it. Is that this one?
Yeah. We are still tasting this, so we've gone through 2.
I'll reveal when we get past 3, and you can rank them, and then I'll reveal them and tell you roughly what they cost.
Should I not have smelled maple on number 2?
No, I get that one on that one too.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it stands to reason that, I mean, I told you I like it, so a lot of what I have kind of has that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're very, very different whiskey. which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
Jared, do me a favor and pour that out over there.
What else you want to talk about?
I'll drink that whole glass later. Don't do anything with it. Don't take it with me.
That's like when you go to wine tasting and people are spitting. Kyle's like, don't waste that.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the night at the SO, just hand me the bucket.
Oh, God. Yeah,
No doubt. This is like, so the first guest who's ever brought something,
I know, right? We need to make that a thing.
Hopefully it starts a trend.
Yeah.
not just quality content, but this is what I think we're going to find out, a very high-end selection of bourbon.
One is significantly, well, one's a high end, the other's a middle of the road, and the other one is very reasonably priced. Not easy to get, but very like $30 or $40.
Oh, okay.
So
Good to know.
Yeah,
I think I know what that last one is.
so we've got a on purpose. It's a spectrum of.
So the third one, it tastes very much like most, I don't want to say average bourbons, but it tastes like most, it has the same profiles as what you would normally consume. Them first two were like far away from what I'm used to.
So when you're drinking bourbon, the only bourbon I've drank, I was like, bam.
Shot.
Yeah.
So
try to get the pain.
and is it very similar to a wine?
Yeah.
Are you sniffing this?
The thing is with bourbon, in my opinion, and I don't know, I can't speak to this because I'm not a wine
It
drinker.
smells great.
Greg can probably talk about this more, but when you go from a cheap bourbon to like some good bourbons, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know?
wow.
Well, you were talking about it with steaks. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and of course A5 is a whole different level. But I mean,
Oh, yeah.
even just a choice steak at the grocery store versus a prime steak at a steakhouse, that's only one grade difference, but there's a difference.
huge
You start
difference.
getting into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 BMS, and then into A5. You can tell I'm kind of in that stuff too. But
Yeah, well, I married a cattleman's daughter.
That's what
and
I'm
I have,
talking
like, and we both like our
but
steaks.
there's, you know,
just
you can tell.
done.
Sometimes it's a subtle difference, and sometimes it's like it's not even the same.
Oh,
And bourbon's that way. Wine is that way. And there are some of the best wine that I've ever had. I didn't want to drink. I just wanted to smell it.
So we went to
Just wildly complex. It's hard to even describe it. And it's just, and that's a really bizarre. Like if you don't do it, you're like, what a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, but
yeah.
that is part of the enjoyment. And I'll tell you another thing that'll blow your mind is, and I only have a couple. But I have a couple really good tequilas, and I drink them neat. And man,
I've heard that.
If you told me years ago that I drink neat tequila, I'd tell you you're crazy.
yeah. I got a friend of mine, and she was the top ranked tequila bartender in Greenville or whatever. And she was like, this particular tequila, you don't need anything mixed with it, and it will not give you a hangover. And she was right.
I do. When I have friends come over, I pour it, and they're always like, I don't want to do
What
that.
is it?
They're like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to do
No, I don't want to touch that.
The three that I have, my favorite is Ray Soul.
Yeah.
It comes in like this. The decanter is like it looks like a sun. It's about $250. It's not cheap, but it's not crazy.
Yeah.
And that's
Good.
that's my favorite. And it's it's an extra añejo, which means it spent some time in barrel, right? And then I had a really nice bottle that I just gave to my dad because I didn't like it. I couldn't tell you what it was, but it was way more expensive. And then I have, I'm probably going to pronounce it incorrectly, but Clase Azul Gold, the black one.
Yeah.
I think it's about $500-600, and it's really good. It tastes like a pre-made margarita to me. Completely different.
If you put like a little bit of lime on the rim of the glass,
even just drinking it neat, and it's crazy because it's 40% alcohol, 80% proof, the same as the others, but it's a completely different experience. But the Ray Soul, REYSOL, is my favorite, and my knowledge is very limited. But I'll come home from work and I'll crave that over, something else. And,
I've heard that about
tequila. But because everybody's experience with tequila is the same, and it ain't good.
I've never heard a good story.
I've always
tequila
the
involved.
thought of sipping it neat sounds torturous.
No, actually, I've heard great stories with tequila involved, but never with good endings.
Not necessarily about the
That's
tequila
right.
itself.
That's exactly right. The cause.
But yeah, I mean, bourbon, whiskey's the same, wine's the same, food's the same, and and if you're these things just they attract our type of personalities, which are curious, and
Well, it's an appreciation for what goes into that bottle.
That's right.
I think that's what excites me more than anything else. And it's not just a bottle. It could
What's
be
your
anything.
cigar? It's the same thing you say about
Cigar, the watches, like, you look at like any watch company that's been around forever that makes their own movements. I mean, there was so much time put into that skill, and the technology and the all that stuff.
So one of the things that I loved about this watch, it's the only Rolex that keeps track of the day, the month, and without adjusting. So every other one goes to 31 days and you just have to adjust it on the 30 days.
My tag does that.
So it's got an extra movement in there.
That
You have to set it March 1 because it doesn't know leap year, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
So you set it March 1 and it shows, that red dot at the 9 is the month, right? And then it keeps track of the days.
It knows
And
how many days are in each month.
it's an annual calendar, and I just loved the extra oomph that went into putting that together.
It's an heirloom piece too.
Well, I mean, I don't have a son.
Yeah.
But if they marry somebody one day that's worth a crap.
Maybe it'll.
When they start dating at 30.
At 30.
I've got the. You familiar with the GMTs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got
Georgia Mountain Time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
I've been looking. I think I want an Omega GMT at some point in my
cool watches.
Yeah, my collection. So GMT, you can change it. You can change the time without moving the minute hand. So if you're a traveler and you're traveling across and you need to go back 3 hours, you're not having to roll the minute hand around and around and around. You just move the. It's the only ones that'll do that.
And again, to some people, they go, time is time. Give me an Apple Watch.
I never got into watches, although I don't want an Apple Watch. I still want to. I like the weight of my tag, but I don't want to look down and see text messages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sucks.
See, and I don't know. I'm torn on watches too because I go by pure looks, and I could care less about what the quality of the watch is and on the inside. Even if it doesn't keep time, who cares? It looks cool.
Yeah.
But then I'm also on the flip side of that is I'm like, no, I really like the idea of having a watch that has a pedigree to it, a history. I'm looking at the Tudor 1926, which is Tudor is basically owned by Rolex. It's the same founder, I guess is the way to put it. They're sister companies, and they registered the name in 1926, and so they've got a watch basically named after that. Jared.
Yeah. I just took my third sample.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So hit us up. We're done. We've
Okay.
sampled all three.
All right. So for fun, rate them in order from
1, 3,
See,
2.
I can't do that.
1, 3, 2 for you.
1,
okay.
I can't.
You didn't
like
have-
as far as best.
Yeah, did
I
you have-
can't because they're all great.
You didn't have a preference?
They're totally different.
Okay.
1, 3, 2.
All right. We'll go in reverse order. 3 is Old Granddad 114.
Okay.
And it is fantastic stuff. And if you can find it in a liquor store, it's $30, $40.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
But it's really good. And people that drink whiskey know it's good, which is why it can be hard to find. The next one is Angel Envy Rye.
Okay.
Which
I would have never guessed that.
Got that one.
Isn't it
at
good?
all.
That's popular. That's a popular.
I didn't like the front, but I loved how it finished out.
The Rye,
That's not a very expensive one either.
$90 a
Yeah.
bottle. If you can
Find it. It's hard to find.
I found the guy up on 123 across from where Diener's was. The Niagara.
Yeah.
I had gone to like 6 different liquor stores and everybody was sold out. And that guy was like, "Yeah, I got a case in the back." I was like, "I'll take it."
See, I would have never bought that because I'm not a fan of rye.
It's good though.
That is really good.
Yep. A buddy of mine came to. I've got a group of fantasy football guys with your Walhalla boys, the McCalls, and
Oh yeah.
and Aaron Lacey is a guy. He brought that to fantasy football draft, and he's like, no, he didn't bring it. They came to my house and drank a bunch of whiskey, and he said, "I'm gonna send you a bottle so you can try it." And I told him, I said, "I love it."
Yeah.
The first one is it's under, people would call it Pappy, but it's not Pappy. It's Old Rip, the 10-year Old
Okay.
Rip.
Yeah, that
And-
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That is
Shane.
that
Shane
is
Smith,
way
if you're
smoother than a
listening.
Pappy though.
Shane, I got 2 bourbon guys. Shane Smith's one of them. All-state guy. in
yeah, I
Clemson.
know Shane. Yep.
He a big fan of the podcast,
Yeah,
right?
right
And a
on.
huge fan of bourbon.
I didn't know that.
And Josh Holiday is probably the guy I know with the biggest bourbon collection.
So I've had most of the Van Winkle stuff. I haven't had the
Have
15, and I haven't had like the 25. And
I've had the 10, the 12.
I've had the 10, the 12, the 20, the 23, and I can tell you that I didn't dislike any of them. The 10 is my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's probably because my palate is to some degree not nearly
Is that going to
as-
be the plainer white label? Or that's 12?
No, 12 is lot. They call it lot B. It's kind of the lighter one. Yeah.
And then, so this one's got the
got the D.
character on it.
Yeah.
Looks like Old Man Time or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's what I had opened the day of my wedding.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep, that specific bottle. And here's what's crazy. I found that bottle on Main Street Wahala.
You didn't pay nearly as much as everybody else is paying for it now.
I bought several bottles at several different times. Kevin takes really good care of me. I paid $600 for it once, and I've paid $380 for it the second time.
Oh, really?
It fluctuates.
It's good. It's a good quality. It's a good quality whiskey. It's fun. And the 10 is my favorite. Now, this is last year's release. I have a couple years before that, and I prefer it over this one. But I drink that any day of the week.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good. Yeah,
but
so I got my rating right.
But the Angel Envy Rye is a great drink.
I've bought some ryes in the past, and like some of them I can kind of drink. Some of them were just so bad that not bad, so far.
Yeah,
that way that I couldn't.
The Van Winkle rye I've had, and it's fantastic.
Maybe that's why that's so popular. Then
the Michter's rye is really good.
I love some Michter's. Now I haven't tried their rye, but
I've come to the house. I'll bring it next time. I'll bring it podcast 100 or whenever you might be back. But it's good.
They're right in Clayton. This is a micro distillery.
Moonrise.
Yes, and this dude is sharp. Like he knows his stuff.
I heard you ran into some buddies there while you were there.
I did.
I heard about it.
Did you? Who told? Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Who told you that?
Hey, so let's take a break right quick. Let this finish out and hear a word from our sponsors.
Are you looking for the perfect vacation spot for your next adventure? Whether it's hiking beautiful waterfalls, mountain biking Stump House Park, wake surfing on Lake Kiwi, or jamming at your favorite concert, Megan Ketterman with Oconee Hospitality has beautiful homes available for short-term rental in Oconee County, South Carolina. Contact Megan today to book your next vacation stay at www.oconeehospitality.com.
Are you looking to make Lake Kiwi your destination? Work with local licensed expert Rhea Land Smith, your certified resort and second home specialist at Lake Kiwi Real Estate. Servicing buyers and sellers since 2013, Rhea is your local expert helping you navigate the real estate waters of Kiwi. Let Rhea make your life a vacation. Call 864-710-9547. And remember, land is her middle name.
Okay, we're back with Greg Coutu. Greg, if somebody is interested in buying or selling, where can they reach you at, real estate-wise?
Well, with a name like Coutu,
pretty easy to find you, right?
Yeah, but no, I work for the company. The brokerage is Allen Tate Realtors. We have a handful of offices here. I work in the office that's right off the bypass of 123, so it's funny, I mean, I sell a good bit of real estate. I don't have a website.
Nothing.
Spell Coutu.
Hold on. That just tells you what matters.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying that's the brightest thing, but I never needed to do any of that stuff. Last name is Coutu.
Greg Coutu, who is our only guest that's ever brought high-end bourbon and rye, and also our only guest that owns or has some monetary in the crypto space.
True. Back to that. We try not to get into crypto.
We're not getting into it.
I bought Bitcoin yesterday. No, I'm just kidding.
We're not getting
just before you came on the show.
just so Kyle and I can
right. He is in that space. And then Kyle and I sidebarred last week and decided that I think it's time for Jared, myself, to pull the trigger and jump in that space for the only reason of letting the podcast watch it grow or die.
I was going to say, if it goes up, it's great. If it goes down, it's great.
It's still great, right? Yeah. So we'll use that as a live lab sort of thing.
I still don't understand it, but I just didn't want Kyle to be the only billionaire that I knew.
Gosh, here we go.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We're always going back to watches, right? Yeah. To bourbon, poker, life lessons about the game. I love the art aspect. I really want to get in your brain on that one day.
Sure.
A lot. So what are some of the biggest gold nuggets from today's podcast? What are we going to hit at home?
I think a lot of that stuff has to do with the same thing. When you break it down to the bare bones, they all kind of have their own, especially in the collectibles. They're all kind of the same deal, right? You're looking for quality. You're looking for somebody's put some time into it or whatnot. On the business side, we've talked about, celebrating those that
the
wins, right? Celebrating your friends that have the wins, right? Supporting people. We talked about that a little bit before the podcast even started. And, I think Greg kind of talked about the fact that he feels like that's pretty much, what's led to his success, right?
Yeah. So, Greg, how important are relationships?
It's everything, and I love that you guys, talk about surrounding yourself with good friends, and I agree 100%. I mean, if you can't be happy about somebody's success, you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
Can you say that one more time?
If you can't be happy about somebody else's success, then you got a problem. And I will say this because I work in what is otherwise a hyper competitive profession. Real estate is a very competitive profession, and I will tell you this, and I mean this. You can hook me up to a lie detector. I love seeing other people do well.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it, and I think it's extremely important. I mean, look, man, everybody's got enough challenges in life. Everybody has enough bad days. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with, years ago, in our personal life, I wanted to surround myself with friends that we had like-minded things, people that were smarter, stronger, guys that were good dads and husbands. You feed off of those things just like you would feed off anything negative. In my profession, I feel the same way. If I can't talk good about another real estate agent that does a great job,
that's right.
Then I got a real problem inside, and that's not healthy. Now everybody's driven differently, and I can respect that. And I can tell you that I wake up every day and I want to be a better version of me. We keep these boards in our office where the office manager that goes to different offices, she writes the sales up on the boards, and it's a tally thing, but it's also a motivating factor. And she was doing that one day, and she turned to me because I was just kind of over her shoulder looking. She said, "Does that bother you, or does that drive you?" And I said, "What do you mean? Does that bother me?" Mm-hmm. She said, "Well, how does that make you feel?" And I was like, "I love it.
It's fuel."
I was like, "I love it.
It is fuel. That's where I feed.
I love it. Right. I want to see people do well. And there's enough to go around. I mean, I'm doing well. Listen, we talk, I'll bring it back to wine. I don't drink my best bottle of wine in the closet by myself.
Yeah.
What do?
Yeah.
I share it with people, right? If you can't share your successes with your friends, whatever it may be, and
they share them with you. So there's those folks that have a bottle of wine that you, especially when you first got in, that you would have never bought on your own, but they brought it to you and they let you taste.
I want a young agent to come to me and go, "Hey, thanks." I'll give you another example. There's a publication that it's called Upstate Real Producers, and they do an article, they do a cover, and they do like a rising star, blah blah blah. It's just it's publication or whatever. And I was talking to Robert Smith, who's the guy that runs it, and I was on the cover one time, but that wasn't what we were getting at. I told him the other day, because he called me and was asking me a question about something. I said, you know what I'm most proud of? He said, what? I said, 2 of your stories mentioned me as somebody that helped them.
Yeah.
And
that's
guess
right.
what? And you know what? Neither of those guys work with my company.
Yeah.
Neither of those guys work in and I said, the fact that they took the time out to mention my name and say, that Greg's helped me, or whatever, that means a lot. That's the kind of stuff that when I'm dead and gone, maybe somebody will say something nice.
The legacy, yeah.
And you know what? It didn't hurt me to do it.
Yeah.
And to me, if you feel differently, then you've got an insecurity and you need to fix that.
Yeah.
And I'm big on that. And if you've got friends that don't like to hear about you doing well, then you need to talk to them and go, "Hey, can I help you with something?" Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a jealousy there, and maybe they want some help, and you say, "Well, let me help you with this." I've got a buddy of mine that's part of my LLC, and I do most of the work because he doesn't live here.
Right.
But he came to me and said, "Hey, I really want to get in on this, but I don't know how to do it." And I said, I don't need a partner, but let's do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? He loves it. I love it. It gives us something to talk about.
That's right.
And I learned, you know what? And it's funny because now when I talk to him, he drops knowledge on me.
Yeah.
He says, "What do you think about this?
Well,
what do you think about that?" And I love it.
We talk a lot about making waves. The waves you make, whether you get paid for them or not, are going to travel on forever, because you're going to inspire somebody that's then going to make their own waves, right? And then they're going to inspire people that make their own waves. Like those, you drop the pebble and then it just...
Man, and you reap what you sow. maybe another day I tell you what could be a fun thing one day is to tell you some real estate stories.
Ooh, that would be fun.
We talked about having an Airbnb story time, and I just
you write a book about that.
Well, these might be a little bit different. Yeah. These are stories like 10 years later, something came back around to me, and out of the blue, and it was a confirmation of you reap what you sow. You know, stuff like I wouldn't recognize the guy if he walked in the door, but he sent me a client that bought a house that I made $100,000 commission on.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yep.
But that guy remembered that I gave him the advice that nobody else gave him.
At the end of the day, it still comes back to relationships. Yep. Greg, how much time do you put in investing in yourself? And part B of that is, how do you do what platform do you do that off of?
Oh man.
See, I think the way that he invests in himself is in his networks.
Yeah,
because I see him get with his buddies and drink the wine and and that's how he's refueling him.
I would say it is. You know, you're not going to see me on a billboard. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not talking about how do you market yourself. I'm talking about are you reading better? Books? Do you have a life coach? Or are you focusing on always learning through X?
Yeah. Okay. I don't read. I should. I don't. I've got the attention of a gnat.
Understood.
Like most people do now. I tell you what I do. I love a good podcast. That's why I listen.
Thank you.
That's why I listen to you guys.
Thank you.
I mean, I do. I really do. I love all the usual. I mean, I love Peterson. I love Rogan. I love those guys. I love learning through other people. When I'm not fighting injuries, my body's falling apart on me at 41. I love to work out. I love to push myself mentally. That is really important. I think one of the things that is wrong with our society now is that people don't do hard stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Kyle said it years ago. He said, everybody wants to be a gangster. Nobody wants to do gangster shit.
That's right.
I didn't actually say
that. You see that sign right there?
There it is. Yeah. But here's the thing is, and I learned it through the sport of wrestling. Your mind, I'm pointing, for those that can't see, I'm pointing to my mind. That sucker's a liar. Boy, he will lie to you.
Oh, yeah.
He'll tell you all the things you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
The first time you learn that he's a liar changes everything.
That'd be the devil.
Yep.
It changes everything. When you learn that you can do more than you think you can do, physically, mentally, whatever it may be.
Break yourself.
And you realize that wall that was in front of you was you can get around it or over it or through it, whatever it might take.
And maybe even 2 times that.
And I think, and I really, there's so many people now that as soon as something gets hard, they stop.
No doubt.
And one of life's greatest rewards is accomplishing goals. And guys like us, I think, are wired a little, we do it. And we talked about this earlier. We're going to fail. I mean, I don't bat 1,000.
Yeah.
That's right.
But the mentality of knowing that I can go further than I think I can go changed everything for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that anymore. Now, you could say, okay, well, what's that got to do with your question? Well, I get that through physical fitness. I hate running, man.
Well, and I think
I hate running, but when I run, I have to, how many times I have to tell that guy to shut up in my head?
That's right.
And then when I go to work, everything's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's how I invest in myself.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you a routine guy? Are you up at X and 30 minutes later you're doing Y, and 30 minutes after that you're Z, and then you're in the office starting today?
Not 100% military, but yeah, I'm up at 5:15 to 6:15
in the morning.
Every morning. I am an office guy. If you drive by my office, you'll see a white F-150 out front.
Got you.
A lot of folks work from home now. That's great. I like. And in the I spend my mornings typically doing follow-up work, catching up on emails, doing administrative. I have a meeting with my assistant every morning. We go through what we need to accomplish that day. She starts knocking out her stuff. I knock out mine. And typically, if I can control my schedule, the afternoon is for appointments. Whether it's to work with.
So it's very routine. It's very stigmatic, right?
Hey, listen, when we have kids, what's the most important thing? Routine.
Oh yeah.
Routine. And then what do we do as adults?
Yeah.
We throw routine out. We acted like all of a sudden we reached an age and routine didn't matter. That's not true. Routine is, I think, extremely important.
See, for me, office puts me in the right zone.
Yep.
Right. I can't accomplish at home what I can accomplish at the office.
Well, I like to keep it separate.
Yeah.
Office is where I do work.
And then when you come home, there is no work.
Doesn't mean I
kids,
don't work
family,
doesn't mean I don't work from home when I have to, or I get a call, you get something comes in at 7, you got to take care of it.
Right.
But I try as much as possible to keep those separate.
Yeah, I put a home office in. It's way before COVID, way before Megan, right? I just put a home office in at the lake house, and here's what I found happening.
You ran an office down here?
I was up early. I'm at the office, and then about 9 o'clock, I look out the window and was like, man,
time for a beer.
That looks
I need to go paddleboard. And I'd go downstairs, grab a paddleboard, and I'd hit the lake the rest of the day. I couldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
So the first co-work in Oconee that I think of started here at 224, and I'm like, I'll take an office. And had an office there for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Got so much done.
Yeah.
And then as I bought more buildings on Main Street, this is now became the office. And here we are doing a podcast. But
and some people are better at at kind of free use stuff, and I need structure. It's good for me. I like to be in the office.
I hate structure.
I'm a brick and mortar guy, and I go to bed usually about the same time. Wake up about, and I'll give you an example. You'll be like, what's wrong with you? So I've got a torn Achilles, and so I'll have issues with that. As you can imagine, running 50 miles a week with a torn Achilles, it can create some problems. So every now and again, I can't do stuff for a month. I'll still get up at 5:15, and my wife is like, what is wrong?
What are you doing?
And I'm like, baby, it's hard to get up at 5:15. If I don't do it for a month, it's hard enough to do the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep this routine so that I don't have to reacclimate to that.
I'm a firm believer in don't measure the things that, like, for instance, if you're trying to sell so much property in a month, right? Don't measure the amount of money you sold. Measure up front. How many properties did you show? Right on. I'm trying to think of but don't measure the end result. Measure the things that create the end result.
That's right.
And so the gym's like that for me.
Because the math will work itself out.
It'll always work itself out.
We talked about that.
So the gym's like that for me. Instead of like measuring how much I weigh or how much I've grown or all these things that are after the fact, all I need to measure is how many times did I go this week, because the rest of it will work its way out.
So I'm not a gym guy. Most of my buddies are.
Yeah.
But my mentality says you live in the greatest gym that God has ever created.
Go paddleboard.
Go paddleboard. Go mountain biking.
Hiking.
My fly fishing trips are a lot of hiking. And that's how I get my fuel there.
So to circle back, it's like what Greg, like what you're talking about. I think there's a part of the human body that needs to tap into some genetics that we don't use anymore. And that's like the primal side, right?
1,000%.
So like the working out, the bow hunting and stuff for me is that primal aspect. It's like I'm tapping into something that's there, but I've never used it.
Yep.
Right? It's like a sense of something that's built into us from years past that we don't use anymore. And then you tap into that and it's like, man,
It's there.
it's like a new drug. It's like
Here's the other thing that I'm really big on too is everybody's great at something. You just got to find it. It might be, for me, it was wrestling and I picked it up quick and the rewards that I got through that sport I couldn't put a dollar amount on it.
Yeah.
For somebody else, it might be playing the piano or trumpet or art or, they might be great. One of the things I struggle with nowadays is these kids playing year-round sports. I grew up, I was a really good baseball player. And because we had seasons back then, right? You didn't play club ball.
you got to try different things.
My buddy said, you don't do anything during wrestling and basketball season. How about try this? And it changed my life. If I was growing up today, I'd play baseball year round and I never would have found that. Now, would I be a failure? No. Would I have found that? No. So what we told our kids and what I tell anybody is keep trying stuff. I love that you do that, Kyle. I mean, you never know when you're going to unlock something that changes, that either entertains or fascinates you or changes your entire trajectory in a great way.
See, and I think every successful experience I've ever had was because it was something I tried that was
out
new.
of the box.
The problem is, though, with me, is at some point I should probably focus, right?
If you want to.
If I want to. But I mean,
it's your life.
it is. You're right. But I'm talking about if I really wanted to get the most out of whatever that is.
You know, I go back to this. So years and years, a different life ago, bought a tour bus, put a band together, cut a CD. Actually, I did it backwards. Cut a CD, put a band together, bought a tour bus, and then went on the road, played music. Never with the intention of making it.
Yeah.
But I can always go, I did that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and you
I
learn
did that, and then you become CEO. I did that. Then you become entrepreneur. I did that.
professional paddleboarder.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, just whatever. Like, I never want to settle in a groove.
I think there's always stuff to be learned, no matter where you're at, that you can use in other places of your life.
I think-
truly believe that.
Oh, 100%.
And you never know when you're going to meet somebody that changes everything. You know, you're not going to meet your friend. You're not going to meet a great friend. You're not going to meet a spouse. You're not going to meet, a business partner that changes everything if you're sitting at home all day.
True.
You got to get out and talk to people. You got to have it's the reason I wanted to come and do this with you guys. I can learn something from you. I can learn something listening to your podcast. It might be just one little nugget here or there. You just never know when you say something and somebody goes, oh man, that's me.
I wish in entrepreneurship classes that high schools are teaching throughout the world, right, they talk about empathy and building relationships.
Yeah, relationships number one.
Soft skills, right? Not P&Ls and how to look for an opportunity. It all comes down to relationships and kindness. Work hard, be kind.
Well, and it's like we talked about, the P&Ls and all that stuff are the results on the end.
That's right.
The beginning is the relationships and stuff. You should measure on those, and the rest will work its way out.
We're not all Elon Musk.
No,
right?
and I don't have to have an MBA to be an entrepreneur. I just need to be able to hire somebody that does.
That's right. Yep.
Like, and if we can teach that, man, school failed me. We talked about that all the time. But it's like, if we can change the mindset to relationships, do you know where we'd be as a country?
Yeah.
We'd be a lot better. We would.
My goodness.
And everybody would value everybody for reasons that they should value them. I mean, I've got my sphere of people, friends, clients, colleagues, peers is enormous. I mean, my wife, thank God my wife is not. I mean, she's outgoing, but if she was like me, we'd have too many people to hang out with. And what I learn through all of those people is literally priceless. Mm-hmm. I mean, and my closest friends are very different, diverse
No question.
people. Different ages, different backgrounds, different income levels, different. I mean, you name it, they're different.
Yeah.
And I love them all for what they are.
Yeah.
And we try to be that way for our friends. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they like about us. Maybe it's the good news of the, but I mean, I love that if you came to my house on any given night and we were entertaining, you're going to see completely different groups of people. And I dig that. I really do.
We ought to set up podcasts on a Saturday night at Greg's house and have like 10
Wine tasting.
10-minute slots with all the guests.
Ooh, that would be fun.
You got
listen,
10
I know
you
some
got 10
really
minutes.
cool people.
We'd have to have like
A clock in the background.
well, we'd have to like
that goes
bullet point questions or something.
Greg.
I'll tell you one quick story. One of the guys, an older guy that I met through wine, that I drink wine with, he's a cardiologist in Emory. Okay, you know why he's in cardiology? Because he was going to be an astronaut, and he was flying over. He was flying a fighter jet over Korea, I think it was. Got shot down, broke his neck, didn't know for 3 days.
Sure.
Got honorably discharged and said, I guess I'll be a cardiologist now. Now, that guy's got a story.
Yeah,
okay?
for sure.
And
Way to go.
What a neat guy. I mean, this guy could do anything.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that I drink wine with, and we BS, into the night. And it's just awesome. And he's 60. We got a big birthday party coming up October 1st for his 60th.
It's like your own personal podcast in your living
But
room.
nobody records it.
Well,
Exactly.
But we're coming.
I soak it up like a sponge.
Do you have an extra room is all I need to know.
We do. We have talked about taking the show on the road and do like live, because I would love to go do this like, in a brewery or in a wherever, or we talked about going.
We'll do it. We'll do it at one of my listings one day. I'll put you out on the back porch. You can talk about how beautiful it is and help me sell it.
All the people go with it.
That cost a lot, Greg. Just so you know, our reach is pretty good.
He's the salesman of the bunch.
Hey, I hear people are trying to get out of Russia now. Maybe your Russian listener wants to come to Lake Kiwi.
Maybe. Greg, end us out with your favorite quote. What's a quote that keeps in your head?
Man, I wish you'd given me.
Can't be do gangster shit either.
Yeah, I know that's already.
It might be though, and if it is, that's fine.
I wish you'd have given me this ahead of time because I'm not a good on the spot guy. I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with one another day. I don't have a favorite quote. I will say that I'm extremely passionate about reaping what you sow and giving back.
That's so good.
I really
so good.
I really listen, man. We are so fortunate. I mean, I never in a million, when I started in real estate, I never thought I'd sell 30, 40, 50 million. Are you kidding me?
I read your bio before you came on, and at the time, you need to update your bio then, because I think your bio now says 225 million since 2004.
Yeah, we're probably past that.
Yeah. You're in the 300s,
but
right?
But I mean, listen, man. I mean, I married my high school sweetheart. My kids are healthy and awesome, and there's some people that think that they earned that somehow.
Yeah.
Man, I am so fortunate, and I don't ever forget that. And I really, really, genuinely enjoy. If I can help anybody at any time, I'll do it. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because listen, I've put in the work.
That's right.
Okay, I've done all the things I'm supposed to do, but I've also had a lot of help, and I've gotten lucky. And anybody that tells you otherwise is just lying to you.
I always say I'm alive today because of a praying mama and the good Lord above.
That's right.
I don't ignore that.
That's right.
And I think that perspective is a good. It's the right humble perspective to wake up with every day.
Listen, we appreciate your content today, and I know we only, just like James and Rhea
That's
and everybody
good, though.
else, we just scratched the surface with you today.
Yeah.
Well, would you be interested in coming back on and really?
I want to do
a
wine dig in.
All right.
I'd be more up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Megan will be in on that too, right?
Yeah, maybe. This is a podcast event. But we may have to go out of town to do this particular podcast. I don't know.
But you guys are doing a good job. You're sending a positive message, and those things, we need more of it. It's contagious, just like negativity is contagious. So I know you're having fun doing this thing, and it was one of those things you probably were sitting around going, what the heck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm
just to
listening
hear
to
that kind of stuff, it's like, thank you. We appreciate appreciate hearing it. And if anybody else wants to tell us that, you can email us at
SouthCack. Why do you always point at me? SouthCackPod@gmail.com.
There you go. It's just been a thing. Greg Coutu, everybody. Greg, we appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks a lot,
guys.
man.
Thanks, brother.
See ya.